Got it.
Hello, everyone. I'm just letting people in still. We'll get started in just a minute. Okay, it looks like we're ready to start. My name is Allison French. I'm one of the 8th grade team leads. Brittany Jones is here. She's also one of the 8th grade team leads. Do you want to say hi?
Hey guys, I am the team.
We lost you. We lost you on audio.
I'm gonna on that while you can speak.
I'm sorry. I know you probably didn't hear what she said. She is the Thoroughbreds team lead. So she is helping plan this trip as well. Miss Mosman, she's the Broncos team lead and she couldn't be here tonight, but she will be sending out information as the year progresses. And also here with us is Karen Gardner. She is the representative from Freedom Tours who is helping us plan our trip. We're just going to keep this meeting pretty simple. We just want to give you the basic information that you need so that you can decide whether you want to go on the trip. So hopefully you saw this flyer at some point. It just tells you some important dates and the cost of the trip. The trip is $600, and we're going to open the portal and start taking deposits on September 15th. We wanted to have this meeting early, start sending out information early so that you could plan in case you wanted to go on the trip. We will talk more about the portal after we go through the itinerary. And at the end, we're going to answer all of your questions because I know that there are plenty. So I'm actually going to go over the itinerary now. Before I start, can everyone hear me? Is everything clear? Whoops. That's not what
Sounds good.
Okay, sorry. I've got to go back and get the itinerary instead. Here we go. All right. Again, we will send all of this out afterwards as well. So the trip starts on Thursday, April 13th, and we will leave at 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. We'll load the buses at 7. We will stop for fast food, and that is something that your student will have to have about $10 or $15 for, depending on how much they eat. Once we get to the end, Karen can tell you more about where that is and what places are available in case you have food allergies. Your student has food allergies. We're going to start at the St. Louis Science Center that day. And then that afternoon, we'll go to the aquarium. After that, we'll go check into the hotel. You can see it's the Drury Inn at Union Station. The address is there if you want to look that up and check out the hotel. For dinner, we'll go to Union Station. We'll be at Union Station, and we'll be chaperoned. There'll be like groups of 10 with a chaperone. And when you pay for your trip, some of the meals, those meals are included. And so when we go to dinner, your student will get handed $20, and then they will go in and get their meal and sit down and eat. That evening, we'll go to the Mirror Maze. There'll be a fire and light show, and there is overnight security. Karen will talk about that again when I get done going through the itinerary. Day 2 is Friday. We'll have breakfast at the hotel. That's included. I didn't open the updated itinerary, did I, Karen? Of course not. We're actually not going to visit Grant's Farm. We had to make a change for that, but we are going to take a riverboat ride, and then the box lunch is provided. Then we'll go to the Arch. Then we'll have dinner at the Old Spaghetti Factory. If your student has allergies, that way you can look that up. That's included. Then we'll go to the City Museum. And on the third day, we'll have breakfast. Then we'll check out of the hotel. We'll do the St. Louis Zoo. Again, we'll give $15 to each student from the money that you've already paid into the trip for lunch. Then we'll leave for home, stop for fast food, and that $10 will be given again for fast food. So it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, Karen, we're only paying for one meal out of pocket. Is that right?
That's correct. All meals are included except for that very first lunch.
Okay. And we're looking at arriving at 8:30 back in Lexington. Of course, we don't know about traffic and all that. our trip is until April, so we know that things may change in this itinerary, but we wanted to make sure that you had an idea of what your money was going to get you. So if anybody has any questions about this itinerary, you can ask us now by putting your questions in the chat. I'm sorry that I pulled up the wrong one, Karen. And we'll answer any of your questions. I'm going to just read them.
I don't
No
have
questions?
a question about the itinerary, but
Okay.
I do question the managing of the money, especially like when they go to restaurants. My child, I mean, she's the one that's gonna want milkshakes and burgers and curly fries, and I just feel like $10 probably won't be enough for that one order. So like, will it be better to just send her with extra money where she doesn't have to be reaching from you all for that? Will that throw you off if I try to, make that accommodate for her? Or I'm just, I mean, I don't know. My kids don't eat $10 meals, so I'm just curious.
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, I was going to say, I know they can take extra money, but go ahead and talk about how it's the things that are included.
So the way we typically handle that is just before each meal, we pass out whatever dollar amount is included in the itinerary to each student for that next meal. Unless, for example, the Old Spaghetti Factory dinner is handled on one big check. So there's no money that's handed out to the students. They will, there are a couple of choices that we've already chosen. There's 2 choices and they will just get to eat one of those choices unless there's a food allergy issue. With regards to dollar amounts for the meal money stops, you would want to send extra money with your child, however much you think they might need to have with them to supplement above and beyond what has been budgeted in for that particular meal. If you think $10 isn't enough, but 15 is, then send an extra $5.
Okay, thank you.
Someone asked about fundraising. We are planning to fundraise. That isn't something that we have chosen at this time, but that's something that we're going to figure out and get approved for at the next site-based meeting.
And we can handle fundraising through the registration portal. The way it works is Ms. French will let us know how much money was raised. The school will send us a check for that amount, and then we will apply that amount among the students, and it will bring down the total final cost of the trip per student.
Do you want to go ahead and tell them about the portal since that's come up?
Sure. Soon we will make available to you a link through which you can register your student through the trip. For the trip, and everything that we need to know is collected through that portal. Things like allergy information, emergency contact information, other similar information. You have the ability to pay through the portal a couple of different ways. You can use a credit card, you can use a debit card, you can choose ACH, which is where you link there are 2 ways to do that. You can link your banking information, your banking account information, or you can enter your checking account number and routing number, and the payments will come directly from your account. If you are really in a pinch, you could mail us your check, although your routing number and your account number are listed on the bottom of your check anyway, and it could easily be done online. The way it works is you log in, you answer the series of questions. It will take you to the point where you enter your payment information. You choose how you're going to pay. It will prompt you to pay the deposit payment. I should back up just a little bit. Also available is trip insurance. You have the option of purchasing protection for your trip. There are 2 levels of trip protection, and that cost depends on the cost of the trip. And there's lower level is a certain percentage and the higher level is another percentage. When you log in and you're choosing your student package, it will tell you exactly how much each of the 2 trip insurance packages cost. There's also a place where you can hover and then click, and it will explain to you exactly what the 2 levels of insurance each cover. Then you have the choice at that point. You can decide, I don't want to have any insurance. I would like to have the lower level of insurance. I would like to have the higher level of insurance. You also don't have to choose immediately. You can proceed with the registration, declining the insurance at that time, and continue on through the registration. You can think about it for up to 14-ish days, and you can then go back and decide to add it at that point. Whenever you choose to add trip insurance, you will be prompted to pay for the trip insurance at that particular time. If you're doing it right from the get-go, when you're first registering, you will need to pay the deposit amount and the cost of the trip insurance. If you initially decline the trip insurance and you go back later and choose to add it, you will be prompted to pay for it at that time. Moving on from that, you will get reminder emails a couple of days, I believe it's 3 days before each time you have a payment due. If you somehow manage to miss to make a payment, you will get emails that alert you to the fact that you have missed a payment. You can make smaller, more frequent payments if you need to, by choosing, when you're logging in and you're choosing the next payment amount, and instead of choosing the next payment amount due, you can choose a manual amount to enter. Say you can't do the whole next amount that's due, but you can do half. Enter the dollar figure that is half of your next payment due. Go ahead and pay that. And then the system will remind you that you do still have the other portion of that payment coming due. You do have the option of selecting auto payments if you choose. That can be done after you have made your deposit payment. There's a toggle switch once you have made the deposit payment where you can choose to have auto payments selected. And from that point forward, all of your payments will come out automatically on the due date from the payment option that you enter. The default setting, however, is for you to log in and initiate your payment each time a payment is due. Yes, I see that chat question. You can pay a larger amount as well. You can go ahead and pay the whole thing up front. You can pay 2 payments now and then wait until the next payment thereafter is technically due and make that payment. Yes, that is definitely an option. If something were to radically change and we had to alter the itinerary somewhat, and maybe it meant that we needed to collect menu choices for something else. And in fact, I don't have the available menu choices for the box lunch on the riverboat cruise yet. So this will come up for your trip. Once you are fully registered and your deposit is paid, you will become a confirmed passenger. When I know exactly what the menu choices are for that boxed lunch on the riverboat cruise, I will enter them into the portal and I will send a note telling everyone that it is required to log back in and enter your menu choices. Everyone will switch from confirmed back to pending until you have gone in and indicated what your menu choices are, and then you will move back to confirmed status again. This frequently happens on a DC trip, and in your case, the menu choices just aren't quite available yet. The Arch handles the riverboat cruise and the lunch, and they are not booking that far out yet. We are reserved there. They know what we want, but they don't have all of the capability yet to book everything, and therefore the menu choices aren't available just yet. Have I covered any? Do you have any other questions about how the portal will work? Feel free to send them into chat, or if it occurs to you later, send them to Ms. French or to me. You can always reach out through the portal as well. You can send messages to me through the portal once you've registered.
Hey, Karen, this is Miss Wright, and my question is, if we have a child who has like a gluten allergy or totally nut-free, are there options available for them regardless of what ends up to be the menu options?
Yes, we can always figure something out. And I am very aware of that. I personally have 3 children who are food allergic. They are all in their 20s and are all still dealing with this now. And I've been dealing with it for 25 years since my first one came along. So I'm very aware of food allergies, and I have no qualms about reaching out to restaurants and finding out alternatives that are available. I will say this. My own middle child, his allergies were so extreme, still are so extreme, that quite often we ended up in the position where he just always had to bring his own food because they were not able to come up with enough safe accommodations for him. In his case, he is severely allergic to milk and peanuts, and there's just milk in everything. He would have never have been able to have eaten at Old Spaghetti Factory, just as an example. So we would figure out an alternative if someone had an allergy or some kind of an issue, such as one of those. Old Spaghetti Factory is very comfortable with coming up with gluten-free options for folks who need that.
Thank you. I had a question from a parent, and they basically didn't want to sign up until they knew for sure that those options would be available. So thank you very much.
I understand. Any other questions that I can answer about the portal? Somebody sent a refund policy question. Is that what I saw? The trip insurance policies will explain, if you click on the more information button when you are considering the policies, they give it, the refund policy depends on which level of insurance you choose. And so the fine print, so to speak, is listed within those policies, and you'll be able to see just what those are. I also have PDF versions of those that are available, and I can send those to Miss French, and she can make them available to you all, so you can read them over at your leisure too.
One of the things that I wanted to make sure we talked about is bus capacity. We have 2 buses reserved, which means we can take 96 students, but we have to fill 1 bus first, and then that bus is good to go, which means we have to have a minimum of 40 students, correct, Karen?
That's right.
Okay, so if we hit 40, we're good to go with 1 bus, and then we can actually max that bus out at 48 so that we can fit all of the chaperones necessary. Then we start to fill the second bus. If the second bus doesn't get to 40 students, then that bus, we can't go, or it raises the cost of the trip for everyone, which we want to try to avoid. So thinking about that, the portal will open on September 15th. We sent information out early, and we wanted to have this meeting, in advance, so that you would be able to plan ahead and decide, we really want to go on this trip, so we're going to reserve a spot. We're going to make our deposit because we want to make sure we can go. And so we'll send several reminders before that happens, but on September 15th, and it usually doesn't happen that fast. I'm kind of just exaggerating because I want to make sure if you really want to go on the trip that you go in on the 15th and you reserve a spot, because if you don't get into the first bus and we don't fill up the second bus, probably it's unlikely that we would take the second bus.
I see a question about the fundraising money. I believe the Fayette County policy is that fundraising is equally divided among all students. Is that correct, Ms. French?
Yes. So when we fundraise, we will take all the proceeds from the fundraiser. Our bookkeeper will write a check. We will send that to Freedom Tours, and they will put that into the portal, and it will reduce the cost for every person signed up for the trip. That's how the fundraising works.
Currently, we have different package types listed through which one can register. Most of you will be registering just 1 student. One thing you want to make sure you do is that you enter your student's name as the passenger, not yourself, your student's name as the passenger. If you have twins or siblings who may be going on the same trip, you don't need two separate accounts to register both children, or if you have more than two, all of your children. You can have one master account, and you'll see as you're registering that you have the ability to add a passenger to the master account, and you'll be able to register all of the potential participants under one master account. You will also see that there is an option for adult packages, both in single and double occupancy. Those are currently waitlisted. We want to make sure that we can take as many students as possible. If you are interested in going as a parent, you can register yourself, but you will go into a waitlist status. No money will be collected from you, only for your student, until we can tell for sure whether or not there would be space for a paying parent to go on the trip. Say we get to a bus and a half of students, and there are quite a few paying parents on the wait list who are interested in going on the trip. At that point, we would make a decision whether or not to open up the wait list for those paying parents and then allow them to transfer over from the wait list to an active participant. And that would enable us to fill the second bus and make the second bus truly work. Are there any questions about that? Or anything else?
I was just going to add that it is $700 for a parent chaperone who is sharing a room with another parent chaperone, so double occupancy. To have a hotel room to yourself, it's $900, just so that you know.
And the trip insurance, the trip protection is based on the price of the trip. So if you opted to go as an adult and you wanted the trip insurance, your trip insurance dollar amount, the cost of the trip insurance would be more than the cost of the trip insurance for the student trip. Yes, there is, we would not permit you to move from the wait list to the active list without there being a seat available for you on the bus.
We just want to make sure that students get the opportunity to go. Like, we want parent chaperones to go, but we have to give students the opportunity first. So if it's limited to one bus and we have 40 students and we don't get enough for the second bus, we couldn't really justify letting a parent go in place of a student who wanted to go. There is a question about chaperoning. What would that do to that student's cost? Do you know?
If you were a chaperone and your child roomed with you, your child would be moving from a quad occupancy status to a double occupancy status, and that would mean that the cost for your student would increase as well. I don't immediately have access to what that cost would be, but I can find out. If you wanted to keep your child at the quad occupancy status, then they would need to room with other students, and you would need to have another adult room with you in order for you to pay the double occupancy rate. Can kids choose their roommates? That's up to Miss French.
So typically what we do is we have students are paying that much to go. We want them to be in a room that with someone they're comfortable with. So we have them fill out something that says like who they would like to be with, but we can't guarantee that they just get to name, here's the 3 people I want in my room, and that's it. So we'll have them fill something out, everyone that goes, that says like, these are the people that I would like, these are the friends that I would like to be in a room with. And then the Miss Jones and Miss Mosman and Miss Wright and I will figure out the best way to group them into rooms so that they are 4 to a room. That's fair for everyone. In the past, I know there's like friend groups that have 5 people, and they just are like, well, if we put 4 of us in a room, then the other one gets left out. And that's not really super fair, but we would we want to put kids in a room, sleeping in a hotel room with people they're friends with and comfortable with. Yes.
We had referenced earlier that we would talk about overnight security. We do book private security, private to just our group, that will be on duty at the hotel overnight. They will be stationed in the hallway where they can keep an eye on our rooms and make sure that nobody who isn't supposed to be around our group is anywhere near us. And if say a student tries to exit the room, security will notify the teacher chaperone in charge, and security will not enter the room. They will notify the teacher chaperone in charge, who will then appropriately deal with anyone trying to leave the room.
Is there a set cost that you all can give us that will let us know if only one bus is filled, how much more would be parents be paying?
So the way we would do really the way it comes down to it is, if you fill the first bus only, that's great, then we'll just go with one bus. If the second bus is only half full, we're very unlikely to take a second bus. It would require a whole lot of reworking of the total trip price, and that might cause a lot of people to not want to go. And we won't know until a couple months down the line. It will depend on how signups go. If people start signing up like crazy and the buses fill quickly, then we'll know right away that we'll be good to go with two buses. If people are hesitant and not signing up, we have to make a decision, because we have cancellation policies with both the bus company and the hotel. We have to make decisions at least 90 days out, really closer to 120 days out, so that we are not violating our contracts with the hotel and the bus companies. So a decision will be made really probably before the end of this year. By the end of December, we should know for sure one way or the other if it's going to be a one bus or a two bus group.
But if we only take one bus, the 600 is the cost. So if we fill one bus and we only take one bus, the 600 is the price.
Absolutely. If we fill both buses, the price is still only going to be $600.
Does anybody have any other questions? I'm going to get a copy of the itinerary. I'll get the insurance forms, and I will take the link to this video once we get it published on the Leestown Way, and I will put that all into an email that Ms. Wright will send out to you, so that you will have that information, so to every eighth grader, an eighth grade parent, so that you can make a decision. And we will just continue to send reminders out before that portal opens. If you have any questions, you can send them to me. You can send them to Ms. Wright. You can send them to your team lead, Ms. Jones or Ms. Mosman, and we will get the answers for you. I will just call Karen and bother her and get the answers. Somebody asked a question about medication. Since we're going out of state, we do have to take a nurse. One of the things that you will fill out on the portal are medication authorization forms. And even if your student takes a medication themselves nightly, it has to be put on a authorization form, turned in and put, and that's all on the portal.
Okay, everybody. Well, thank you so much for attending our meeting today. I just wanted to say thank you to Miss French, who did such a great job of putting this together. I call her the field trip fairy because be quiet, please. Because she does so much for this. She's been working on this field trip since last spring, actually, maybe even before that. So anyway, we're just so grateful for her and all of her hard work, and we're excited, and we think a lot of kids are going to sign up, and we're going to have a really great time. Like I said, like Miss French said, if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me or your team lead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. French.